What's going on, healthy gamers? I am here with Stefan from ProjectLifeMastery.com. He is a self-development coach, and he is just a real interesting guy. He is into a lot of the same things that I'm into, and that kind of the healthy gaming ideas into, because he grew up as a gamer. He played MUDs. He said 12, 14 hours a day, Diablo 2, and he got into kind of developing confidence, and through that developed his own business. He's financially free now. And I came across him just Googling. It was real random. I was looking for an Earl Nightingale video, and Stefan's video popped up on the side, and it was talking about how his morning routine for productivity. And I don't even know how that happens. Earl Nightingale and Stefan's video about productivity. But I took it as a sign from the universe that we needed to bring Stefan on here to talk about productivity. So that's what we're going to do today. How you doing, Stefan?
Doing fantastic. Thank you for having me on your show. Looking forward to just the discussion that we're about to have right now.
Right, absolutely. And I guess let's just if you want to talk a little bit about yourself, explain, talk about your gaming, because I think the audience will connect with that.
Okay, sure. So yeah, I was obsessed with video games the moment I got a computer. I got so obsessed to the point where, I'd skip school, I'd stay up all night. I just loved just being entranced in video games, and it was just a really fun adventure and a phase of my life that I was really, really into. But I got into Counter-Strike, Diablo 2, as you mentioned, MUDs, which, I don't know if half the people watching this will really know what that is, but it's basically kind of like a Dungeons and Dragons kind of thing where you're role-playing with people online just by typing and whatnot. So, I was really, really involved in that. But at the same time, I became a very shy, introverted person just because I didn't really interact with the world and go out and socialize. And, from there, I actually got into wanting to change and improve my life. And I got into the whole self-development industry. I got into, Tony Robbins and a lot of the people out there, Earl Nightingale. And this kind of led me to where I am now, which is having a blog, Project Life Mastery, doing life coaching. And, my whole life has changed since.
That's great. And so that's a really good segue into our main topic, because as as an entrepreneur, as someone who runs their own business, you have to really be accountable to yourself and really be able to be productive. You don't have anyone else there telling you need to get up, you need to get going, you need to get things done. So how does your day look?
Yeah, that's a really interesting point, and I think that's one thing all entrepreneurs or people that work from home struggle with is disciplining yourself, because generally when you have a job, you have to be there at a certain time, you're accountable to your boss, and when you have your own business, you're only accountable to yourself. And so really making sure that you manage your life, you manage your week and your days, and have a system for that, I think is really important. And for me, I've developed a system for myself where I have what is called a morning ritual, which is a video that you came across on YouTube that basically allows me to prepare for the day. And it's kind of like a productivity thing because it makes sure that I'm at my best each day. And part of the ritual is making sure I plan out the day in detail. There's more specific things, obviously, that I could get into with that. But, it's just having that system that allows me to make sure that I'm in an environment that supports me, make sure that I can get as much done as possible. And, so we can go more into that if you'd like. You want to go into that, or?
Yeah, I would like to. Just kind of what do you think are the keys to having, because what I call it is that kind of that flow state, that state where you are just on it and you feel good, and I guess, yeah, if you don't feel good, you can't produce good.
Exactly, yeah.
So what do you do about that in the morning?
Well, feeling good, I think there's physical, and then there's also mental and emotional. Physically, I make sure first thing I'm drinking water, making sure that I'm hydrating myself, I'm stretching, I'm moving my body, which is a really important thing, just breathing, just because you've been laying out there for 8 hours or whatever. And so you need to start to turn on your body, and so movement, exercise is a really important piece. I have something called a rebounder, which is a mini trampoline that I jump up and down on for a few minutes a day.
Really?
And what that
Inside
does
your house?
yeah, I do. Yeah,
Ah,
it's actually
okay.
it's really, really cool because every cell of your body is being exercised in that process. It's kind of like a little massage for all your cells, and it helps get rid of waste in the body too. And you take in a lot of oxygen, which is really great because oxygen just gives you a lot more energy. So, I do that. I go for runs in the morning as well. I find that's really useful for having more energy, and then also working out too. And I know that's one thing that you're really into as well. So, I mean, physically, there's that. Then also diet, nutrition. I juice every morning. I have this amazing juicer that I recently bought, and I love juicing wheatgrass, vegetables. And I find just when you juice something, you don't have to digest it. So you're flooding your body with all this nutrition and nutrients, and it's the best energy drink that you're ever going to have. You're going to be on fire first thing in the morning, and you're going to have sustainable energy throughout the day. And so health-wise, that's a really, really big piece in feeling good. And then also mentally and emotionally, just taking the time each day, whether it be meditation or I do something called empowering questions, which I learned from Tony Robbins, which is just focusing on, answering questions like, what am I happy about? What am I grateful for? What am I proud of in my life? What am I committed to today? What am I passionate about? How can I get the most out of today and really enjoy the process? Asking yourself those questions, you give yourself an opportunity just to feel those emotions. And whenever you're happier, you're feeling more grateful or more energetic, you're going to produce better throughout the day. Incantations is another thing, which are similar to affirmations. And it's basically stating out loud certain phrases that empower you, right? So it's just maybe just saying, I can do this, or I'm confident, or I'm amazing, whatever it is, certain things like that. When you use your body, you're going to feel more energetic and more productive as well. I do reading each day. I find just kind of feeding my mind with positivity and good information really uplifts my spirits and makes me feel a lot better too. So there's a lot of different kind of exercises or different things that you can do just to make sure you're in that peak state. And I think that's a really important piece, is just making sure that you're in that state, because whether you do something or not usually depends on the state that you're in. I don't know about you, but when I'm tired and I'm exhausted and all that kind of stuff, I don't feel like doing anything. My productivity is going to go down. Whereas if I make sure I'm in a peak state, I perform at my best. And I think it's no different for any professional athlete or actor or performer. They always have a ritual to get themselves in a peak state, because that's when they perform their best.
Right. I absolutely agree with you. And I was actually thinking about this today, is through my life, I've had a lot of ideas, like all these different ideas. And then I wanted to start a food truck here in my town. I wanted to do all these different things. But the one thing that was holding me back was I would be motivated and excited for about 2 weeks. And then that motivation would drop off, and I would lose the energy to do it and that drive to do it. And then nothing would ever happen. And I think that's the same way for a lot of people, because you know what you have to do to gain the health that you want. You know what you have to do to get the success that you want. It's not a matter of knowing what to do, but it's a matter of motivating yourself to do it. And that is the answer, the piece of the puzzle we're trying to solve, is if you can solve that need of how do I have the energy and the motivation and the drive every day to go accomplish the things that I want to accomplish, then you can have anything you want in life. And that, I think, is the real power of the morning ritual of reading the books to get yourself in that peak state. And you should see the paper I'm writing out here. Like as you're talking, I have this huge list of things, because I'm going to go look for the rebounder, because that sounds super interesting. For runs too, because like right before we got on here, I went outside and I did a 10-minute sprint workout, because for me, if I do exercise, especially kind of cardio intense exercise like that, the endorphins release make me a lot more talkative and just a lot more friendly to be around, and that makes for a better interview.
Absolutely. And just going back to what you said as well, I think also, having goals, having goals that you're focused on, and part of your ritual is focusing on those goals every day, looking at the goals, looking at where you want to go, because whatever you focus on, you're going to move towards, right? And so having those goals, having important, compelling reasons why you want that goal. I have a ritual every day where I write out my goals, okay, that I want to accomplish this month or quarterly or this year, and then I write down a few reasons why I'm committed to achieving that goal. So, if I want to make a certain amount of money and that's my goal, then some of the reasons might be so that I can travel, so I can buy really nice clothes, so I can, invest in real estate or whatever it is. You got to have reasons that I think really make you want it bad enough. And I think that's one challenge. Some people don't want their goals bad enough. And I've had times in my life where I wanted something so bad that, I was just eliminated all the distractions that I had around me, and I was just so focused on that goal. And during those times, I made the most progress towards those goals because I wanted it so bad. And then also just planning out the day, having this basic simple to-do lists, but setting the priorities for the day. I always focus on the three highest leverage things that I can get done that day. I don't know if you've heard of the 80-20 rule, which is that 20% of what you do is going to produce 80% of your results. And so for me, I want to make sure I focus on the highest leverage things because those are the most important things. I might not get everything done that I set out to do that day, but as long as I get done those three important things, then I'm pretty happy at the end of the day. And, so prioritizing that list and taking action on it. And I have some other strategies too. Like I have a friend that I do, we're kind of like accountability partners. And we have a call first thing in the morning at 8 o'clock. And we both talk for 5 minutes about what we're going to get done that day. And we really focus on the three most important things. And then at the end of the day, around 9 or 10 o'clock, we do another phone call as a follow-up. And we talk about, okay, did you get that done? What challenges do you have today? What did you learn today? And how can you make the next day better? And so having that accountability to someone else is really powerful because as you said, just being accountable to yourself can be difficult, and having like a third party or a partner that you can kind of team up with and hold each other accountable is really valuable. And especially since we actually have a consequence for not doing the actions that we've committed to. So for example, if I don't get something done that I committed to, then I have to donate $20 to a charity of my friend's choice. So all of a sudden not getting something done means something to me. It's like, man, I don't want to lose that $20, so I'm going to make sure I stay up all night to try to get that thing done. So accountability like that is really, really, really powerful. And I also have a mastermind group I'm a part of every week.
I wrote that down to ask you about that.
Yeah, we have like a Google Hangout, and there's maybe about 4 or 5 of us, and we set goals, every 3 months, and we basically get on a call for about an hour and just kind of each talk about our week and what we're committed to that week and challenges that we had, and we give each other coaching too. So those are all definitely really powerful resources that people can use to be more productive.
There's so much good information there. Let me touch on the planning part and writing down your kind of the things you're wanting to accomplish for the day. I found one really powerful aspect of that is it allows you to clear your consciousness. Once you have it down on paper, you don't have to keep it in your mind anymore, and that allows you to bring your entire focus down on the one task at hand, and then once you finish that task, you can move on to the next without trying to juggle everything in your mind and trying to keep it all in there.
Yeah. Yeah, no, totally. I mean, that's, I think, a concept from Eben Pagan, I think, talks about it. He had a program called Wake Up Productive, which is really, really valuable. But I think also there's another book called Getting Things Done. But they basically talk about either the night before, so you can also plan your day the night before. People found that's really useful. But just getting those thoughts, getting all that stuff you have to do just out on paper, getting out of your head, you'll stop worrying about it as much. And, it's kind of like a cleansing technique that you can do to get rid of stress.
Sure, and actually, something really interesting I've read about is kind of the power of your subconscious as you're sleeping to solve problems.
Right.
I met a lady, she's a very successful real estate lady, and she said when she first got started, every night what she would do is take a little notebook and write in there what the biggest problem that she had in achieving the success that she wanted, and she said she would write in there subconscious to her, to my subconscious, I want you to solve this problem, dear me. And I think it's worked for her. And they talked about, I want to say Einstein, but it was some those great inventors who would take naps and have their ideas, formulate as they wake up. And I wish I could remember who it was exactly, but they credited their sleep with their greatest ideas.
That's awesome. Yeah, I've definitely heard of that as well. People, they'll kind of set their intention before they go to sleep or whatever, and they'll wake up with the answer. So I definitely think that's pretty cool too. And I think just even by just focusing on what you want, your goals, there's a lot of subconscious stuff that's going on that we're probably not even aware of that is helping us being pulled towards what we want. Call it the secret if you want, or the law of attraction. But, I've definitely experienced myself some instances like that as well. So I think that's pretty effective.
Sure, and I agree, and I still go back and forth on the idea of the law, as we talk about law of attraction, is there actually a metaphysical force that allows us to create our own reality, or is it just because we're focusing our intent, then we're able to see the opportunities that were always there? But I've actually had I don't know, instances in life where when I've been very intentioned in what I want my goals to be, that I meet people almost magically. It feels like a serendipitous event, that they were exactly who I needed to talk to. Even finding your video, like I'm finding this conversation, like I really resonate with what you say, and I'm really glad I met you through this. And I always say I don't think there's any coincidences in life, and that might be a little far out there for some people, but I think it's an interesting idea. What are your thoughts on that?
I believe in that too. I think everything happens for a reason and a purpose, and everything kind of happens the way it's supposed to, and you end up attracting people that are like you. So I can definitely relate to that. I've attracted certain people into my life at certain times, and I just basically trust that it's happening for a reason, and I think the more that you grow and develop yourself as a human being, you just end up attracting people that are more like that. So, I don't, nobody really knows, I guess, the science behind it. It might be a little airy-fairy for a lot of people, but all I can say is that it's worked for me, and I don't know. I enjoy it. I think it's definitely very useful to have that mindset.
Yeah, absolutely, Liz. I wanted to ask you about your juicer some more. So do you drink any caffeine during the day?
No, I used to drink a lot of caffeine, and I've gotten completely off of it. I used to had times where I'd be taking the pre-workout energy drinks and stuff like this. And what I found, the more that I learned about health, and one thing I've learned is that fitness is a lot different than health. A lot of people can be physically fit, but be unhealthy, have no energy. And I actually competed in a fitness competition last year. Was working with different coaches and everything, and I was 4 or 5% body fat, and I was ripped, and I was really fit, but I had no energy throughout the day, and my productivity went down too because I wasn't really taking care of my health as much. And one of the challenges I had with caffeine, though, is that I'd have that burst of energy, and then I'd crash and be tired, and I'd have to then depend on more and more caffeine. And I learned from a man named Dr. Robert Young, who wrote a book called The pH Miracle. And he was one of the guys that kind of first modernized the whole acid-alkaline balance kind of concept. And one thing he talks about is that how caffeine's a drug. A caffeine is a poison that you put into your body. And what happens is when you put it in your body freaks out, and it speeds up really fast, releasing adrenaline. So you have a rush of energy, but your body is just trying to figure out how to get rid of that poison. And so it's really interesting, but I prefer more healthy, more natural, more sustainable levels of energy, because caffeine, it can give you energy, but it's not sustainable. Whereas maybe something like ginseng, or just alkalizing your body with different vegetables and whatnot, for me, that is more sustainable, more lasting energy for me.
That's really interesting. I'm gonna buy a rebounder and a juicer after this conversation.
And there's also a lot of natural energy drinks out there too. There's I don't know if you guys have where you live, but up here in Vancouver in Canada, there's a brand called Vega, and it's by a guy named Brendan Brazier, who is a vegan triathlon athlete, I think. But he has all these products up here that are all natural. He has pre-workout, drinks and stuff that are all natural as well. So there's definitely a lot of alternatives out there too.
That's what do you put in your morning juice generally?
I basically, it's interesting. There's a lot of things that I've been juicing lately that I would never consider eating in my life. But I basically go to the grocery store, and I prefer organic food, just because I don't want to be taking in herbicides and pesticides and fungicides and all that stuff. But mainly greens. I like spinach, kale, collards, rainbow shards, carrots, beets, cucumber, just basically any vegetable, mainly vegetables. And I found that parsley, cilantro, when you flush your body with that much nutrition, your body is like, it just has this rush of energy right away, because you're eliminating the whole digestive process, because if you were to eat a salad or blend all those vegetables together, number one, you wouldn't get as much. You wouldn't get as much nutrition, because the amount of vegetables that I can juice with like a glass is usually like a whole pile full that you would never be able to stuff into a blender, right? So you're getting so much nutrition, and your body doesn't have to digest that. And so it just goes, because there's no fiber or anything from it. So you just absorb it right into your bloodstream, and you have immediate energy.
That is really interesting. I'm definitely gonna you've sold me on that.
Yeah, I
And let me
know.
share a little bit of the kind of foods that I found. What I've done recently, I guess I'm almost on 60 days of being completely paleo anymore, and basically just cutting out the processed carbohydrates. And I have found that has made a world of difference for me in terms of energy levels. And I've really found that eating kind of the healthy fats like avocados,
Yeah.
your coconut oil with all the medium chain fatty acids. I found, well, I guess both those two really are what I find. Once I eat those, I get a burst of energy. It's a clean burning feeling. It's not,
Yeah.
because caffeine for me, it makes me a little bit jittery, and it's not a clean. That's the only way I can describe it. It doesn't feel clean.
Right.
But
Right.
avocados and coconut oil and those medium chain fatty acids, for me, it feels like jet fuel and just feels like the most, natural, sustainable energy, like you said.
Totally. Yeah. Yeah. Essential oils, I think, are really, really important for health, and I'm glad that you brought that up. Um, there's actually a man. He wrote a book called Slow Burn. His name's Stu Middleman. I don't know if you heard of him before,
I've heard
but
of the book. Yeah.
yeah, he ran 1,000 miles in I think 11 days, and he broke the world record. He was running for 18 hours a day for 11 days, 10 or 11 days straight. And the way that he did it was he trained his metabolism to start burning fat instead of carbs and sugar. And what he described is that when you have, like, a lot of people, athletes, they have a lot of, carbs and maybe pasta before they go run a marathon or something like that. And what happens is sugar, he describes, is kind of like lighter fluid. You have like a burst of energy, and then you crash. Where he says burning fat is more like burning coals. It's sustainable, long term, and it's steady. And I'm not a total expert on what he teaches and whatnot, but I recommend the book. But definitely, consuming a lot of good essential fats, omega-3, 6, 9s, all that kind of good stuff will definitely make a difference to your energy as well.
Sure. Let me expand on the
Yeah.
idea real quick, because I've read a few books that go really in depth in the way kind of carbohydrates and sugars and glucose interacts with our body. And so what happens when you eat a bunch of carbohydrates is it doesn't matter if it's a complex carb or a simple carb. So sugar or your whole wheat bread, they both are broken down into glucose in the body, and then that glucose can either be used as energy or stored in your liver or your muscles. And then what happens is your body burns through glucose. If you're on a run, you're going to burn through that glucose very quickly, and you only have a limited store of it in your liver and in your muscles. And once you deplete all that glucose, if your body is used to running on glucose, you're going to crash, because you're literally running out of the primary fuel source. But our body stores energy as fat. So then, doesn't it make sense to make our primary source of
Exactly.
energy become fat? And so I do intermittent fasting too, where I won't eat for 16 hours a day, and people think immediately, well, aren't you tired all day? Don't you need breakfast to have energy? And you don't, if your body is running off of fat. And that is how the human body is supposed to run. So that, when you eat like this, you don't have energy spikes and dips. You have steady energy throughout the day, because your body is never running out of fuel or being flooded with fuel. It is a constant thing because it is using fat.
Definitely. That's awesome. That's a very good point.
Right. What about nootropics? Do you take any sort of supplement nootropics?
No, no. What do you mean by nootropics?
Well, I guess nootropics are kind of the brain supplements.
See.
What I've researched them a little bit. I take let me find it here. I can never pronounce this right. Pyracetam, and then CDP
Right.
choline, and a little bit about those. Their mechanism of action is they're not a stimulant, so they don't stimulate the adrenal glands.
Right.
And honestly, I don't have a good grasp of the mechanism of action, but what they do is they increase the oxygen and blood flow into your brain, kind of crossing that blood-brain barrier. And for me, I found just taking the combination of pyricetam and CTP choline gives a kind of the clear-headedness that I feel when I'm on caffeine, but without the stimulant effect of caffeine,
Right.
and it doesn't build tolerance, and it doesn't have a crash afterwards.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. I got to definitely check those out. I haven't really honestly experimented with too much of that stuff,
Hmm.
but yeah, it's definitely interesting how there's so much different stuff out there, and there's been so many studies done, and so there's definitely, definitely many natural alternatives out there that can still be healthy for you, more supportive, and have that more sustainable energy without, causing any harm to your health or anything.
Right. Yeah, I agree with you. And just getting back on caffeine, I've always looked at caffeine as not giving you energy, but borrowing energy from your future.
Right.
And
Yeah. Good point.
I've noticed for myself, the more caffeine I take, the more sleep I need to feel rested. And then it gets to a point. So viewers, if you wake up every day, no matter how long you sleep, you still feel tired, you probably have adrenal fatigue, and adrenal fatigue is brought on by taking too many stimulants where you're basically just wearing out your adrenal glands, and thus you feel tired all the time. And that can be solved by going just cold turkey off of any sort of stimulants for, it takes a while, 60 to 90 days, but it's absolutely worth it because I think a lot of us, we've been so just immersed in the stimulants. There's stimulants in everything, sodas and energy drinks and everything we do. A lot of chocolate that we eat that we think it's normal to feel tired all the time, but that is not the normal state of a human being.
Right, totally. And even people compare the energy lift they're going to have from caffeine to something more natural. And it's a totally different thing. The caffeine or whatever, that's not a natural state to be able to get into. For me, actually, at one point when I was, 2 years ago, I think, I was really into, trying to shed body fat and everything. And I ended up doing fat burners. And so I was doing caffeine and ephedrine,
I
right?
was gonna ask, yeah.
And it gives you this state that is almost inhuman because your body speeds up so much. It's like a thermogenic, right? And there's many times I felt like I was going to have a heart attack during my workouts because my heart was like beating out of my chest, and I was getting heart pains and whatnot. And that's not natural. That's not healthy. And it was very detrimental for me long term. And to get off that stuff is very difficult too, because you're going to go through withdrawals. You're going to get headaches and you're going to crave it. You're going to be really tired for the first week or two trying to get off that stuff. You might even be a little bit depressed. But, I found that the more that you do that stuff, the more caffeine, ephedrine, all that kind of stuff you take, your body becomes used to it. It builds up a tolerance towards that. And then all of a sudden, taking caffeine or that coffee doesn't really do it for you anymore. Now you have to take two, and then eventually you have to take three or four, and you just got to take more and more and more to get the same effect. So it's not sustainable.
Right. I agree with you. That has always been my biggest problem is the tolerance that it builds, and just the first week being on caffeine feels great, and then slowly it just wears off. Actually, that's interesting because I took ephedrine and caffeine during my cut. It must have been 4 years ago now, and at one point I came home and I was real tired after a workout, and I took a nap, and I woke up shaking uncontrollably because I had failed to properly hydrate myself, and the ephedrine and caffeine are so thermogenic, and they had, my body was so worn out through that workout that I was dehydrated to the point of real danger. I had to, I literally crawled into my shower, took a cold shower, chugged about 2 liters of water, and then passed out. But I think that was a real danger point. I felt like
Yeah.
the worst fever I had ever had. And so and also I had a lot of just weird delusions of grandeur when I was on ephedrine and caffeine. I equate that to a milder form of meth or cocaine. It's the same
Yeah.
same pathways, and it's not good for you. I would recommend staying away from that. And yeah, absolutely, when you come off, you're depressed, you're low energy, and it's just not a good thing.
Yeah, it's not worth the long term, so you want to make sure you have a balance. You have a balance of fitness and you have a balance of health. Don't try to achieve fitness while at the expense of your health. I think if you combine both, and there's a way, to be eating, healthy and doing things naturally, natural sources of energy, it's still going to help you work out, and be productive throughout the day.
Sure. Let's finish this up with a list of just books that we recommend. What
Okay,
about
sure.
yeah? So just talk. I don't know. Talk me through the good books that you think for goal setting and achieving what you want in life.
Yeah, totally. I've read a lot of different books just on different areas, and I'm always, when I'm reading books, I look for ones. I usually look at what I'm struggling with in my life or what I'm focused on and try to find books on that topic. But overall, some of the books that have made the biggest difference for me is one, I'm a huge fan of Tony Robbins, and he has two great books, one called Awaken the Giant Within, another one called Unlimited Power. And those books will basically cover your entire life, and they're just, it's just one of those books that will just totally change your whole outlook. And there's a lot of exercises and whatnot in the book, and it's definitely changed my life in so many ways. And if you want to go beyond books, he has a lot of audio programs and video programs that you can check out as well. The classic is Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. A lot of people in the whole self-help world have gone to that book. The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People is another one that comes to mind. It's a really great book I read years ago when I was really young and first getting into self-development that really impacted me was called The Greatest Salesman in the World by Og Mandino.
Hmm.
And it's a really interesting book. I really enjoyed it. The Alchemist is good. I've read a lot of biographies too, just because I love to study success. I'd like to find people that are successful in a certain area, read about their life and story. You'll usually get a lot of really inspiring lessons about their life. There's a lot of great health books. I mentioned The pH Miracle is a really great health book. I have to think more. How about you? What are some of yours?
Sure. Actually, you've kind of taken all of my my books. Yeah, actually, reading Tony Robbins' Unlimited Power was one of the first kind of forays into self-development, and that was fantastic, real fantastic. Think and Grow Rich. That was the book that got me really moving in developing the healthy gamer. Reading that book, I really enjoy Earl Nightingale's audiobooks. I try to listen to about 15 minutes every morning, just as I'm driving somewhere or on my workout. And I think audio is a really, really fantastic way to learn. There are some really great podcasts about any subject that you're wanting to learn about. You can find podcasts on, and then pretty much all of these self-development authors have their books in audio format, and it's just when you can fill your mind with that positive
Yeah.
information every day. So some other books, I like Robin Sharma's stuff. He writes one called
Right.
Mega Living. So those are really good.
The Monk
What
Who
else?
Sold His Ferrari as well,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely. Yeah, it's such a good kind of like a parable fable book. I really enjoy The Alchemist as well. Yeah, now that we're talking about it, I'm just blanking on all the different
Yeah,
books.
I have a few more that I just thought of. Just in terms of finance, that really helped me a lot too. One is a book called Secrets of the Millionaire Mind by T. Harv Eker. And it was a really good book just because he's all about financial freedom and passive income, and he describes how you're financially free when your passive income exceeds your expenses. And so that book, among many others like Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Robert Kiyosaki, he's got another book called Cash Flow Quadrant. Those books really influenced me to start working on and thinking about passive income. Tim Ferriss, The 4-Hour Work Week is a really great book. And that book really got me thinking about automating my life. And a big component of my life now with my businesses and productivity is outsourcing. I leverage a lot of my life and a lot of my work by hiring virtual assistants in different countries like Philippines and India for really inexpensively that will get a lot of stuff done for me throughout the day and while I'm sleeping. And so that's been a huge game changer for me too. And Tim Ferriss also has some great books, The 4-Hour Body and now The 4-Hour Chef too.
Interesting. I mean, if you don't mind talking about it, I would be interested in just hearing how long have you been pursuing the goal of financial freedom using all of these tools that we've been talking about. How success. You don't have to give
Yeah.
but giving us idea of like how successful has it been.
Well, I got into this because I actually started off by having a seminar and coaching company here in Vancouver for about 5 years. And I was running that with two business partners, and we served a lot of people. We helped thousands of people doing seminars and coaching, but we didn't know anything about business. We didn't know how to manage the finances, and I wasn't really making much money at all. And I was actually living in my friend's living room on his futon, and just as a way to save money, and I was in debt, so I was trying to pay off my debt and everything, right? And I was kind of first learning about internet marketing by actually going to a seminar, and it talked about how internet marketing is really business of the future, and that if you don't jump on now, you're going to miss out, because there's no way, there's no better way to have the whole world as your demographic, and you basically have a website that's like your salesperson that's going to sell for you 24/7, and everything is automated, with technology and all that stuff. You don't have to be there. You can make money while you're sleeping. And it's very scalable, and you can just create more and more websites or more and more products or whatever, and just keep duplicating that process to make more and more money. And so I was learning about this at the time, and I was making, at the time, I think about $30 a month from this one website that I had. It was a product on skin conditions, different home remedies and whatnots, and how to treat skin conditions, right? And I was so frustrated that I was just like, I have to do whatever it takes to change this area of my life. And I ended up going to Southeast Asia, to Thailand, for 3 months.
Really?
And part of the reason is because I could live there a lot cheaper than it costs to live here in Vancouver, just because you can live there for like $1,000 a month. And I remember I was in a layover in Beijing, and I had out my journal. I was writing out my goals. And my goal was to make $300 a month from this business. And I was not going to come back to Canada until I had reached this goal. And while I was there, I was so committed. I was working day and night on this website. And the reason why I wanted $300 is that extra $300 would allow me to be at least live in my own place, right? Because there's no way I was going to go back to live in my friend's living room. That was just a standard that I did not want to settle at. And so sure enough, I achieved that goal. And what happened was, I went from $300 a month, then to $500 a month, and then $1,000, and then $2,000. And now I make six figures, just from online business, and that's within about 2 years. And I do a lot of different type of internet marketing. I do Kindle marketing. I do affiliate marketing. I have different websites and products that I sell. And it's definitely changed my life in so many ways, and it's created a lot of freedom for myself and my life. And the great thing is that it's very easy to learn. Anyone can do it. As long as you have a computer, you could be anywhere in the world. It doesn't require a lot of money to invest into a business or anything to get started. And ever since you kind of get a taste of it, of making money online, you just want more, and it makes you realize that going back to having a job or something like that is it's just a totally different world. So I'm really blessed. I'm just really grateful that I discovered it. And it's just been a really incredible journey since. So
Sure.
it's really cool.
Yeah, that's a really cool story, and just kind of parallels my own experience a little bit. I'm not up to the six figures yet, but this year it's going to happen. It's going to happen.
And really the biggest challenge in it all is just really making that first dollar online, or those first few dollars, because once you have that process and that system, then it's very easy to scale it up. You just got to do more of it and just enhance it and just automate it more. And, I learned from one of my mentors, John Reese, and he talked about how, just making that first dollar, you're 95% of the way there to making $100,000. And because you have the system. And so once you really just implement the system and do it, and it starts making you money, it's really great. And one thing, I think a lot of people are skeptical about this stuff, at least with people that come to me and they think, because there's a lot of scams out there. Sure. And everything, different products. But there's a lot of really great products and different resources out there that can really help people to start doing this and make money online. And it's not as hard as people think. So.
Sure. No, I agree with you. And I think something else, too, is people have this, well, I guess I have had this idea that somehow profits were bad and anyone who wanted to make a profit was bad. But listening to Earl Nightingale, he really changed my perspective in the fact that you cannot make a sustainable business without serving people. That is the only way to create any sort of sustainable profits. You can scam people for the short term. That's totally true. But any sustainable business is there because they serve people's needs and they solve people's problems. And I think that's something that people need to just keep in mind, that your goal should not be to make money. Your goal should be to serve people and solve problems. And that's what internet marketing allows you to do, is that you're able to serve more people more cheaply than any other form of business out there.
Yeah.
And also, this is the other point, is that I think you could have had your success building an offline business. You could have had your success doing any number of different things, even working for like an innovative company, just by applying all of the things we've been talking about that we read about in the books. Because I think it's just that process, setting your right intentions, setting your right goals, and making sure that you're in a peak performing state. It doesn't matter what you do, what you put your energy into, you will be successful.
Absolutely. Yeah. No matter what you're doing, set the goals, apply what you're learning from these books and these programs. And no matter what it is, nothing is out of your limits. If you believe you can do it, you can. As simple and as silly as that sounds, it's absolutely true. And it's worked for me. It's worked for you. And it'll work for anyone else that's watching this video.
Absolutely. And just to finish this off and bring it back to the gaming aspect, if you want a magic spell, magic, some wizard to come and give you the dream of, the life of your dreams, these books, these ideas we were talking about, that is it. It literally makes your life magical in how it helps you achieve all of your goals. And can you talk a little bit about just your website and like the coaching that you offer? Go ahead.
Yeah, sure. So I have a blog called Project Life Mastery, and that's www.projectlifemastery.com. And on there, you're going to find a lot of different resources, articles, videos that I have that of just basically things that I've been doing and learning and sharing it with other people. And then I also have my YouTube channel, which we'll probably have a link to here as well. And if you're interested in coaching, you can contact me on my blog about that. I coach people with every area of life, whether it's even if you want to make passive income online, I help people with that too. And if you're also looking for a great book, I have my book being launched soon called Life Mastery: How to Unleash Your Hidden Potential and Achieve Everything You've Ever Wanted.
That's great. I'm looking forward to it. I will be your first customer.
Great.
Well, I want to thank you so much for your time. This conversation really has been very valuable to me. And once again, I hope to have you on again, because I think the viewers will really find this conversation useful. And so thank you again for coming on, Stefan, and take care and have a wonderful day.
Thank you, Jack, for having me, and we'll talk again soon.